Guys, welcome once again to another episode of All Things Football. And I am back after taking a bit of a break during Ramadan. I'm back joining Wasim and Ziyaad all the way over in Dubai. Ziyaad, how are you doing, brother? It's been a very long time since I've seen your face.
Yeah, no, it's good to be on here again, and yeah, excited for the last weekend of the Premier League. A lot of interesting storylines, which I hope we're going to get into.
Listen, just before we get kicked off and we, start coming into our talking points and so on, what's happening to the Arsenal jersey? You said you're wearing a Besiktas jersey today. Are you changing your allegiance so quickly? What's happening?
Listen, Arsenal sitting ninth on on the log, and I think they have a very slight mathematical chance of jumping into Europe. So for now, I think I'll roll with the Turkish champions.
Nah, lekker. Wasim, you guys have managed to survive relegation, and of course, you know what that means. Bruce in.
You're going to start again with that. At least we won this week, eh? With fans back in the stadium, it was really good to see, and it was nice to see that our teams won. Not your team, obviously. Old Trafford, with fans in still doesn't make a difference. You still didn't win, so at least we got to enjoy that satisfaction.
Yeah, and I'm gonna claim a bit of Newcastle's win because it seems to be all Joe Willock. So
Yes.
Yeah, without that guy, I don't know where we'd probably be relegated. But hopefully Arsenal and Arteta have big things planned, so they don't include him in those plans, and we can buy him for 20 million, and we can have a good season next season.
Listen, to all those watching, don't forget to subscribe to All Things Football on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and on Twitter as well. But guys, you touched on Joe Willock, you touched on Arsenal and Newcastle, and we'll get more into that a bit later. But the top four at the moment, Liverpool won away at Old Trafford. They then got, I mean, who would have anticipated Ellison, of all players, scoring a fantastic header against West Brom? They're in the thick of things. You've got Chelsea, who defeated Leicester this past week. So Wasim, where do you see things going in terms of the top four? Do you think it's a bridge too far for Leicester at the moment?
I do think so. I think it's been fascinating watching that race towards the end. Liverpool seem to have got the stars aligned now all of a sudden, and things are just in their favor, I feel. The Alisson goal, obviously, it was incredible to watch, but it also shows that things are now starting to fall their way. Even last night, Burnley played really well. I thought Burnley were very, very good in the first half, and they somehow were losing the game at halftime. So I feel that Liverpool have what it takes now to just finish that job and take that top four spot. Chelsea have a tough game against Villa, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how they approach that with the Champions League final a week later. So it's not a foregone conclusion that they're going to finish in the top four, but Leicester also have to win away to Spurs or at home against Spurs, which is not going to be easy because Spurs, with Kane and Son, they're always dangerous. So I feel that Leicester have blown it, and Chelsea and Liverpool are going to finish the job on Sunday. But it's been fascinating, and I feel Alan Shearer said it the other day, where he said there should be one more twist. So I'm excited to see what it could be, and I'm hoping that it's going to be the underdog Leicester making a top four spot.
Listen, as a United fan, I'm hoping that Liverpool somehow, some way, slip up on Sunday. I don't think it's going to happen, but I am a little bit hopeful. Ziad, what do you think? Are you in the same boat as me, where you maybe want Liverpool to slip up?
man, my team's so far down the log, I can't even talk about things like that. But I think unfortunately, I feel also that Leicester's gonna miss out. It's just they left themselves too much to do, and
Yeah.
you know that hangover from the FA Cup might actually be affecting them because they won that trophy. But I think if you ask them at the end of the season if they take the trophy or the Champions League spot, some of those guys are definitely going to want to rather be in the Champions League. And I mean, coming up against Spurs might be Harry Kane's last game in the Spurs shirt. So I definitely think Spurs are going to have a good match against Leicester. And also Leicester's form hasn't been great. I think they've dropped off at the wrong time, which, like Wasim said, Liverpool seem to have hit form at the right time. And yeah, I think it's going to be really tough for Leicester to get back into the top four. I think they just miss out.
What do you think was the difference between Chelsea and Leicester in the league game? Because they played each other in the FA Cup final, the same two teams, had the same amount of rest period. But watching the game, Chelsea, they scampered out of the blocks. What do you think the real difference was, in terms of the two teams' performances? Because Leicester, they look completely jaded and tired, bro.
Yeah, you know how it goes in a cup final. Guys generally play a bit more safe. Instead of trying to go hard for a win, they try not to lose and nick a goal, which is exactly what Leicester did. And if you're Chelsea and you're looking at Man City in the Champions League final, yeah, you think you have a chance. And obviously, all great teams believe they're going to win when they go into a game. But you can't take it for granted that you're just going to rock up and beat City. You have to make sure that you win your league games to get into the Champions League. And I think that's where Chelsea stepped up. And I think Leicester fell short. It's a bit of a worrying thing. I know Wasim and I were chatting about this the other day, and in some other groups as well, that Brendan Rodgers has had it's a bit of a theme with him to tail off at the end, especially when they have to win to finish in the top four. It's a bit of a bad record that is accumulating in that regard.
Yeah, I
No,
think with Leicester,
absolutely.
the problem with them also is that Jamie Vardy's tailed off. He's got, I think, 1 goal in the last 20 odd games or something like that, where it's really, that's not what we used to. So the fact that he's not contributing, Iheanacho's been doing well, but take Iheanacho's goals away, they don't really have many players who are scoring or are contributing. So that's the problem. They're not scoring as freely as they were earlier in the season. And with their defense, they're always going to concede. I feel they're just not that strong defensively. Obviously, a cup game was different, a cup final, but in the league, they've just been a bit too loose at the back. So that's where they've come undone. They haven't had that performances of Madison, Vardy, for example, that they had at the beginning of the season. So it's a bit tough on them, but they do need to work on this and try and get greater depth for next season, so that if they are in a similar situation again, they have that what it takes to finish the job.
So, guys, obviously the top four is pretty much cut and dry. Like we all agreed, there could be a bit of a toss-up in terms of a result that we maybe don't expect, and someone sneaking in like a Leicester, maybe even ahead of Chelsea, who knows. Relegation is all sorted out. So let me talk about your two respective clubs. With yourself, Ziyaad, you mentioned you guys had an absolutely atrocious season. I'm not even going to hide my happiness because I'm elated at that. Like your fan base, I can't stand them. I'm happy that you guys are where you are at the moment. But what does the future hold for Arteta and for Arsenal Football Club?
Look, for me personally, I don't think there's much to gain other than financially from qualifying for Europe. So if they don't qualify for Europe, which is most likely, I actually think it's better for them because they don't have to spread the squad so thin. You can actually trim the squad down a little bit, focus on your league games week in, week out, pick your best 11, and actually develop some sort of cohesion and identity, because I think that's what they lacked for most of the season, trying to balance Europe, the cup runs, the league, not knowing what his best 11 is. So, I mean, they did a lot to get rid of some players who are maybe towards the end of their Premier League careers and start to move towards, the more younger guys. And if you look at the selection recently, there are some players that looks like he's looking to build around, like the Emil Smith-Rowe's, the Sakas, Kieran Tierney, obviously. Gabriel looked good again after a bit of a dip in form. So once you get that spine of the team right and you're playing league football every week with the same group, okay, obviously not 11, but the same 14 guys maybe, I think that will really benefit Arsenal next season. So I'm hopeful actually that they don't qualify for Europe and just get to focus on the league, because we've seen it with Liverpool a couple of years back where they finished outside the European spots, just focused on the league. The same thing happened with Chelsea. And I think as a new coach with some new players hopefully coming in, I think that will be most beneficial.
Listen, I know how Wasim feels about Arteta, and how I feel about Arteta, and what I think of him. As an Arsenal fan, what do you think of him?
Yeah, in today's game, it's all about the results, and I think the time of fairy tales is long gone. But for me, I'm still a bit old school, man. So I feel like as a coach, a guy needs to be given a bit of a longer leash just to get things to where he wants it. And look, this year has been crazy. I mean, the results have been erratic. There's things you have to deal with you never had to deal with before. So I'm not making excuses. I mean, the results weren't up to the standard expected, but I think that with all that they've invested in him, I think he at least gets up until September, October next season. He gets this transfer window, and then he has to get off to a good start in the next Premier League season. Otherwise, the pressure is going to mount, and most likely he would lose his job to a more experienced candidate. But I was very excited by the appointment initially. And because he's a young, inexperienced coach, you just have to accept the growing pains and go along with it. So I'm still behind Arteta, and I'm hoping that he can be successful.
Yeah, well, you mentioned growing pains. It's been growing at Arsenal and at the Emirates, my brother. So,
Hey, you
talking
said
about,
growing, so I'll take that, because a lot of other people seem to think it's going the other direction. So
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how what next season has in store for you guys. And then talking about growing pains over at Tyneside, St James Park, Wasim.
Pain.
Talking,
that's
brother. The
fine.
thing is, Newcastle, have had like a fantastic run at the end of the season. I don't think anyone predicted this. They've looked a lot more positive. They've actually looked to assert themselves more in games and play on the front foot. And I think with Bruce as well, he's sort of changed up the way he sets up his sides. So I don't see now that you guys have survived relegation, I actually don't see a change incoming. Um, yeah, what's your expectation for the off season and for the new season that dawns on us?
I think the way we've ended the season, it's been good because we are playing more front foot position and attacking style. So I think that is what we needed because earlier in the season we were very defensive and it cost us games. I mean, Sheffield United away, we started with I think it was 9 defensive players and just 2 so-called attacking players, and we lost the game 1-0, and that was the first win for their season. So our approach early in the season really cost us. But so I'm happy that we've now changed it and we're sticking with that, the new style of play. In the off season, I feel we need to sign Joe Willock. He's been sensational for us, and we really need him from Arsenal. So Arsenal, focus on strengthening your side, but don't take him back. And I think if we can get Willock, his goals from midfield along with Wilson, St. Maximum, Almiron, if we can keep those guys, Jolinton has gotten better as the season's gone on also. So if we can keep the core of this side that we've now ended the season with and just build on them with a few additions here and there. We've got some players losing their contracts, Carroll and Gale, I think, and so forth. So if we can replace them with younger potential, I think we can actually go on to have a better season. And West Ham have shown it that last year they were struggling. Aston Villa last year they were struggling. This season they've actually had good seasons. So I feel if we do, approach it in a similar manner and not rest on our laurels, then we can have a good season next season. But if we say, yeah, we're glad we survived and we're happy with not being relegated, but we don't buy or we buy very cheap players, then we're going to struggle again next season. So it all depends on how we approach it. And knowing Ashley, we can't predict anything, but I'm hoping for the best. But what I do want to also throw at you, Riaz, you've asked us the questions. I want to ask you. Solskjaer has done in my opinion, a very good job. He's got United second. He's gotten them to a European Cup final. What is your take on the season for Manchester United?
You know what I think? I mean, it's very tough watching a United game because from almost every single game we play, there's a period where we are red hot. There's a period where we absolutely abysmal, and there's a period where we just look like the players just look like they couldn't care less. Um, and I saw it against Fulham again, even though fans were in the stadium. I saw it against Fulham, and it keeps kind of rearing its ugly head. It happens every single game. I don't know. I think Solskjaer definitely will still be in the job next season. I think he has done well to get to second, and I'm kind of a Ole Gunnar Solskjaer detractor. I'm not like his biggest fan, or whatever, but I'll give him credit where it's due, and he has done well. But I also think he's done well because other teams in the league haven't done so well. Our form's not been great. No disrespect to Ziyaad and Arsenal, but we played Arsenal and we played Liverpool when they were in poor form and we couldn't take advantage of it. So yes, he's great in terms of man management and in terms of getting the players on side and so forth. But sometimes when it really comes to the clutch moments in a game, we just don't get over the line. And some friends and I, we were joking around in the week that yes, we broke our semi-final curse. Now everybody's talking about progress. Well, what if we lose in the final? Fans are still going to come and say, well, we made progress. Look, we got to the final. Like Ziyaad said again, it's about winning. It's about results. And clubs like United, like Arsenal, their success is predicated on winning trophies and winning silverware. So I don't know. I think next season's going to be kind of D-Day for Solskjaer because next season he really needs to get it right in the league. For me, the league is always the bread and butter, and that's where you got to do well and you got to try and win that. If you win a European competition, fantastic. But for me, it's always about the league first. So we'll see what happens. I mean, at the start of the call, you said we didn't win at home in front of fans against Fulham. That's been the story of us this season. Like you just never know what United side's gonna pitch up on the day. So yeah, it's not good for my anxiety. It's terrible actually. Most times I try. There have been times where I don't want to watch football because of it, but that's just how the cookie crumbles, I suppose. Just a quick one to Ziyaad. Is Willock actually going to go to Newcastle? Because the way I see it, there could be other teams who are going to come in for him. So I actually don't see him going to Newcastle permanently or on another loan deal, perhaps. What do you think is going to happen to your player? Or is he going to be recalled to actually feature at the Emirates?
I definitely think he should feature at the Emirates because if you look at Arsenal's midfield, it's thin. Ceballos goes back to Madrid. Odegaard goes back to Madrid. And to be honest, I'm not in favor of these loan deals because you can't really build around those guys, man. They come in, maybe have a bit of an impact. Like the Odegaard deal was terrible because there's no buyback, there's no buy option. I mean, so even if he does well, all it does is boost his value and another team comes in and buys him. We have to pay a ridiculous amount of money. So at the end of the day, I think every player has their price. And I don't know what Willock's is. It's definitely more than 20 million was he. It's not 20. It's way more because he's a young player and I think he's on a decent contract in terms of length. So it might take a bit more to get him out. And if there are other signings coming in, that money will be useful. But I definitely think he has a role to play if he stays because the chemistry between him and the other academy products is really good, man. And I think that's something you can build on. And if you have goals from midfield, I mean, that's something that all teams need. So if you have a guy who just pitches up in the box at the right time and can score, I don't see Arsenal having that at the moment. So I think it's up to Arteta to find a way to use him. But if Newcastle are willing to put up the cash or another team, maybe Villa loses Grealish and they look to replace him, then you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm keen to hold on to Willock.
Yeah, do you know what they say? Players come to Arsenal for work experience, bro. Ceballos and
It's like a internship.
for work. It's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is.
Man,
Wasim,
I'll have to take that
if
on
you
the chat.
Also, Ziyaad, I forgot, you guys are going to get Guendouzi back, bro.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, these guys come back. If you can integrate them again, that's the challenge for the manager. And I don't know if he can do it, but if guys have talent and skill, then they have to be used. But otherwise, I'm happy to just clear out and keep the squad nice and thin. So yeah, I mean, tons of players coming back, but hopefully a lot of guys going out. Yeah, it's like there's a big what's that sale in Cape Town, the Adidas sale, that everyone goes to, and they're just clearing out alles. That's the Emirates.
Yeah, nice.
bargain bin.
That's what most of our clubs need, Brad. Just before we conclude as well, guys, let's just quickly touch on La Liga and what's happening in Spain. I mean, it was very close. It still is kind of close, but I think Atletico Madrid are a bit more in the ascendancy now, and it's really their title to lose. What have you guys made of Real Madrid and Barcelona's performances this season? Wasim, we can hear to you, and you can maybe give us your thoughts on that.
I feel that they've they've done well to actually be in the title race up until the second last weekend of the season. Because if you've watched the games, they've dominated possession, but they've conceded very, very poor goals. Defensively, PK has cost them in a lot of the goals they've conceded lately. So I feel they need to have an overhaul, and they did well. Given that they are in transition, they need to sort of build a new team from scratch, because they've had so many players leave. So I felt they've done well. They won a cup, and they're in the top three towards the end of the season. Obviously for Barca, they want more trophies and they want to be in with a say in the Champions League and stuff, so on. So they've got a lot of work to do, but given that where they were at the beginning of the season, I feel they've done well. Real Madrid, they are also in a similar situation, but they've done better in that they got further in the Champions League and they are still in with a shot of winning the title. So I feel Madrid, if they can just add one or two good additions, they've got the making of a better squad. So yeah, that's my take on La Liga, and I feel Atletico will win it in the end.
Yeah, I think
Ziyaad, how
Atletico
much La
are.
Liga do you watch?
No, not too much. I like Real Madrid, but for me, the only storyline that I've really enjoyed this season in La Liga is Luis Suarez. It's crazy that Barcelona let him go to Atletico. It's criminal.
Yes.
I don't know
Yeah.
how that came about, and he's literally been like probably the star of
The difference.
Atletico and taken him to the top. And if you look at the league table, they got a decent goal difference. They I think have an advantage of 3 goals over Madrid. Real Madrid, and I mean, they're up against Valladolid, I think, so their
Yeah.
chances are quite good with that goal difference, and to just be, I think that's the biggest story, man. Suarez lifting the trophy, and Barca deemed him
No,
surplus to requirements. It's crazy.
no, I agree with that. That's but it's a great story and a great team for Atleti season. I mean, for me, this is as good a season as any for them to actually win La Liga. When both Madrid and Barca they're kind of going through a proper transition. Actually, I also just read earlier that they Barca might be having talks with trying to bring Hansi Flick in. And then I heard just before we started the call that Daniel Levy is trying to also sound out Allegri. So yeah, it's that time of the year where we're gonna get crazy rumors and just a lot of insane things going on in the news. So yeah, I mean, hopefully for us, we'll be on hand to give guys the news. On that note as well, I just want to thank Wasim and Ziyaad for coming on. I know it's been on short notice. We haven't been as active. It's been Ramadan, but we're definitely looking to be more active. Again, to everyone watching, please do subscribe to us on YouTube and also give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram. Wasim, Ziyaad, guys, shukran so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, all good, man.
Cheers, gents. Until next time, see you.